popping back in with some more coverage of Nikki Haley's campaign stop there in Bamberg, in her hometown of Bamberg. She just wrapped up her event probably in the last half hour or so. We've got Sydney Hood live out there for us right now. She was there for the entire campaign event. So, Sydney, what can you tell us, just broad picture of how that event went out there today?
Definitely was a hometown feel for Nikki Haley. She got a welcome right off the bat from Mayor Foster, and right off the bat they were like, "Nikki, welcome home." That was how they greeted her here. Definitely it was a warm welcome. Right underneath this little shaded area right here was filled with people wearing their signs for Nikki. They were wearing buttons for Nikki Haley. Like, they gave her the hometown welcome back to Bamberg feel. And after talking with some voters, that really is the biggest thing for them. Is, you know, they've got almost, it's like one of them is here running, so that makes them almost feel like their voice is louder to her. She hears it more. So that was really kind of how we got things started off here. And then she spoke for about 15 or so minutes, starting off talking about her accomplishments as governor of South Carolina, and then going into her stances on immigration, education, term limits in Washington, kind of laying things out for folks, and then kind of wrapped things up again with that hometown Bamberg feel, and really just kind of convincing folks to get out to the polls and vote for these primaries. She really stressed the importance of these primaries to folks at the end here, telling them, you know, this is their choice to go out to the primaries. They have the option to, you know, vote in these primaries to decide what November looks like for them. So that's kind of the broad overview of what went down out here.
Yeah, and we heard from Nikki Haley. I was watching along here with you about a number of different points, one of them being the debt that the country is in. The border was a big thing she talked about, as well as Donald Trump's legal issues, President Biden's mental acuity. I mean, she really hit a broad range of things. When you talk to the voters out there, what were some of the big things that they wanted to hear from her, aside from her just being the hometown favorite?
Really the big thing that I heard from folks is that they believe that Nikki Haley has the power to bring the country back together. That was the biggest thing. I just spoke with two voters before coming and speaking to you, Nick, and they were like, you know, we need someone to save our country. That was word for word what I heard from one voter, and they believe that Nikki Haley is the person to do that. And the reason that they're so confident in her is they were telling me that, you know, she is a woman, and they're very confident in her leadership as a woman to bring out, or to, you know, beat out all the fellas, is what they were telling me, and to really just bring the country together. So that was really the big thing for folks, is, you know, not so much the policies, it's the bringing folks back together and building our country back to one country. That was really kind of what folks were telling me, and that they believe that Nikki Haley is the person to do that.
Yeah, and she said there, and we've heard this before from her, she said there will be a female president, and if you vote for me, it'll be me. And if you don't vote for me, it'll be Kamala Harris, to which that was met by some boos out there today from what we heard. But she talked about, you heard the fellas, and had the fact that it started with 14, she beat out 12 of them, and now it's just down to her and former President Trump. There's this sense in the political science community that this is kind of a make or break state for her. Did you get that impression? Because watching that, for me, I didn't really feel like she had this sense of desperation that she needed to win or do extremely well in South Carolina. Did you get that?
No, she's extremely confident that she'll win her home state, and she really feels like she's got her hometown folks rallying behind her. But I agree with you there, Nick. She really didn't feel like, you know, she was kind of down on her knees begging folks. She was very confident in her home state to rally behind her. But again, that really didn't stop her from, you know, telling folks or stressing to them the importance of voting in these primaries. But yeah, like you said, Nick, really get the impression that, you know, she was kind of begging folks to get out there. She's extremely confident that her home state has her back here.
Yeah, and she's had, you know, while these people may have her back, she's had some of her former political allies Governor Henry McMaster came out and supported Donald Trump. We saw Speaker of the House Merle Smith up supporting Donald Trump at a rally one day. Russell Fry, representative for South Carolina. So she has had some people that she's been close with in the past now coming out in support of her adversary. But one person she brought out today was the solicitor down by the coast. What did she have to say about Nikki Haley? Because the two of them have had a pretty good relationship over the years. They've worked closely together from Nikki Haley's time as governor.
Yeah, the solicitor, she was really confident in Nikki Haley's ability to bring law and order back into the cities. That was the main thing that she stressed on. She gave a little anecdotal stories about how Nikki Haley has helped her during her time as a prosecutor. They were going back to the shooting in Charleston more than 10 years ago at the church, and how Nikki Haley really brought them back together back then. But that was kind of really the main points that she was getting across, is how, you know, Nikki Haley will bring law and order back into these cities, and, you know, stressing that she is the person to do that.
Yeah, one of the big things that she talked about was the border, and that's a big thing we've heard from Congress, from former President Trump. We've heard that for years now, talking about securing the border a little bit. What was her stance on that? And she said she'd been down there, explored more than 400 miles of the border. So what was she talking about when it comes to that issue?
The fact that we need some border control is what Nikki Haley was trying to stress. And again, she goes back to her time as governor of South Carolina, and she's very proud about the fact that during her administration as governor, they passed one of the strictest immigration laws here. She was very proud about that and mentioned that, you know, they need to take something like that they passed while she was governor and to bring it to Washington in order to control the problems that's going on at the border.
And, you know, Bamberg, her hometown, went through a devastating storm a couple weeks ago, I guess a little over a month ago now. You have 2 tornadoes touching down there. And it was interesting seeing her talk with the backdrop right behind there of Main Street with the bricks lying down. Did you talk about that at all? And you've been out there plenty since that storm. How does the city look now, just on a general perspective?
I'll give you a look right now and just show you how close we are right here. And it's like you said, while she was talking, you couldn't help but notice that this is her background. This is that main strip down on Main Street. These are the bricks that are still laying in the street right now. So again, it was kind of hard for her not to acknowledge that this is what her beloved hometown looks like. That was one of the first things that she mentioned, but she stressed the importance of, you know, this being the town that raised her, this being the town that taught her everything she knows. This town's been through a lot. She was mentioning, had some voters mention that to me, that, you know, Bamberg's been through a lot. They're going through a lot right now, but they will overcome it. But yeah, it was kind of hard for anyone really to not acknowledge that that was the backdrop right here. We're on that main strip of Main Highway right now. But yeah, it was really kind of the eye-popping open here.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, Sid, anything else that you wanted to make sure we knew going into your story for tonight? Do you think we kind of covered everything?
You know, I think we kind of covered everything. You'll hear a lot more from the voters that I spoke to and why they think Nikki Haley will be the next president of the United States.
All right, she was the first female governor of South Carolina, now looking to become the first female president of the United States. Sydney Hood live out there in Bamberg for us this morning. Sydney, thanks.